We looked this morning at one of the miracles of Jesus, and we've spoke a couple of times about this specific miracle of Jesus healing a crippled man at the bath of Bethesda, as you would say in Hebrew, or Bethesda, as you would say in English, which was close to the sheep gate in Jerusalem. Now Jesus, as being said before, taught his people in parables. He used parables which are stories, and within the story he embedded the deeper meaning or the message. And a miracle in itself is also a parable, because it's the miracle, and within that miracle Jesus embedded the teaching that he wanted to teach to the people of his time. Now he did that for a specific reason. The teachings of Jesus was way out. It was not the ordinary things people heard in those days. So it was totally new, and to many people, they just couldn't understand it. So he used parables and miracles, and the parable and miracle, the story or the event that happens, keeps the mind busy. You know, these minds of us that just run all the time with all the thinking. So our thinking mind gets kept busy with the story or the miracle, like the healing of the crippled man. And then at the same time, the subconscious of us being human is freed up and is open, because the mind doesn't control that subconscious now. And the teaching can come in and sit in the subconscious of human beings. It's quite a clever trick that Jesus used to bring his teachings to people. The second effect of this is, if you didn't understand what he was teaching, then at least you could listen to the story, or you could be amazed by the miracle. And it wouldn't bother you really, because you didn't get the real meaning of the teaching or of the miracle. So that is the way that Jesus taught. And Paul says he didn't teach anything outside of the parables of his day. So it was a very important aspect to understand the teachings of Jesus. We cannot just read it and by first sight just say, oh, this is the message. It doesn't work like that, because the true message is embedded within the message that Jesus taught. So this is a picture of the modern day bath of Bethesda at the sheep gate in Jerusalem. It's not in use anymore, but it still exists. And this is where Jesus came to do this miracle that we talk about this morning. And John gives us some background to what is happening there. And the background to what is happening is important to understand the true teaching of Jesus, to understand the meaning, and to move beyond the miracle of the healing of a crippled man, which is indeed a miracle. But the important thing is not the healing that took place. It is, what did Jesus say by healing this crippled man? In the Gospel of John, we find that Jesus often went down to Jerusalem to meet the people, to be in the temple, to teach, and to do his thing there. In the other three Gospels, Jesus didn't go down to Jerusalem that often. And that's why this miracle you can only find in the Gospel of John. Now, there's various reasons for that, because every gospel had a specific scope and a specific message that that gospel would want to bring over. While the Gospel of Matthew, if you divide the gospel in Matthew in certain areas or certain chapters, every section or every chapter could be read at a specific festival in Jerusalem. So the author of Matthew should have been either a person very close to the Jewish faith, because he used the festivals to bring his gospel. John, on the other hand, moves away from the Jewish faith, and we're going to see how he does it. He kind of steps aside and says, let's listen and let's look at the messages of Jesus from a different scope, because I have a different approach, is actually what John says. And we find that approach brilliantly in the miracle of the healing of the crippled man, because here Jesus come and he kind of give not only a reply on the current faith of the day, but he criticizes it through what he's doing here. He kind of rebelled against the Jewish faith of the day, which is a very important aspect of the whole of the Gospel of John. It rebels against the customs of the day and against the religious institutions of the day. And we find that very clearly in this miracle. Now we have to move back to the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 3 verse 1 starts with, "And Eliashib the high priest rose up with his brothers the priests, and they built the sheep gate, they sanctified it, and they set up its doors." This is just after the people of Israel returned from exile in Babylon. Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians, the temple was burned to the ground, and now these peoples, after years at the rivers of the Tigris and Euphrates, came back when the Persians sent them back after they demolished the Babylonian Empire. So these people came back, and you would expect them, the first thing that they would want to do is to put down the cornerstone of the temple. Let's rebuild the temple. That's the first thing we need to do. Yet, it's not the first thing they do. The high priest himself, which is in charge of the religious institution of the day, and the other priests went and they built a gate. That's the first thing they do. The sheep gate. And with this building of the sheep gate, there was a definite message to the people of the time. Because the sheep gate was used for all the people that came to Jerusalem to bring their offerings to the temple, the sheep, the lambs, the oxen, or whatever they brought, the animals that they brought for the sacrifices at the temple. They could only enter through the sheep gate, and the priests would wait there, and then they would look at these animals and say, yes, you can go in, no, you need a better one, come back next time, or whatever the case may be. So the sheep gate played a very important role in the entrance into the sacrificial customs of the day. And therefore, the message here from the high priest to the people is, we first start to reinstitute the sacrifices, the offerings, the riches of the temple before we even think of rebuilding the temple. We need your sacrifices. We need your offerings. So that's the message. And they sanctified, Nehemiah said. They declare it holy. That's what sanctifies means. They declare it holy, this gate, so that that's the only gate the sacrifices could go through. And then close to that gate, there was this bath, this kind of swimming pool, called in English Bethesda. And the angel would come down, and the angels would stir the waters of that bath. And then the custom is the person entering the bath first, after the water was stirred up, that person will be healed. That is so cruel. I mean, this is a cruel story. It is like we built a bath outside the church, and we say once a week at a certain time, we're going to stir the water up. And all the crippled, all the sick, all the mentally ill, all the other people in the city can come and stand around this pool, but only one, the one that can enter that pool first, that one, that specific one, will be healed. And all the others, well, they just need to go back and relax around this pool and wait for the next stir up of the water. And hopefully, maybe, it will be their time to be healed. What a cruel system. It is not funny. It is actually sick, sickening to see how they treat the poor, the sick, the lame, the crippled, the mentally ill of their time. By selecting one out of probably hundreds that was lying there, and selecting one and say, you were the fastest. Well done. Good job. We will heal you. And it's against this institution that Jesus went down to the bath of Bethesda to bring his message at the sheep gate. Because he came there, and there was this man, 38 years crippled. It's not he had the flu for 2 weeks, or he had some kind of illness for a month or two. This guy was crippled 38 years, probably from birth, because the life expectancy in those days were probably around about 45 years. So he was at the end of his life expectancy, and he was still crippled, and he was lying there next to the pool, and then Jesus went up to him and he said, "Do you want to be healed?" Maybe a little bit of humor in that sentence. What would the man be doing there other than wanting to be healed? How would he get there being crippled? So somebody should have helped him to reach that. And he's been there for quite some time because he was lying on a mat. The stone floor would have probably been very hot in summer, very cold in winter, and very hard the rest of the time. So that he had a mat under him to support his body weight, to make it not as difficult as it could be on the bare floor. And then he said to Jesus, "Yes, I am here because I want to be healed." And Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." Now the man did that, took up his mat, and he started walking out, healed, not crippled anymore. And these religious institution leaders reacted immediately, not by saying, "Wow, what have happened to you? We saw you coming in with the help of other people, and now you're walking on your own out of here." No. You can't carry your mat. That is against the law of the day. It's the Sabbath. How dare you pick up your mat and carry it? Religious institution, decrees and doctrines that you have to follow to be acceptable by God. And that is the critique of Jesus against such a system. What did the man say? They asked him, "So, who healed you?" Because he said, "That man told me to take up my mat." You know, that reminds me of Genesis, when the fall into sin story, where Adam and Eve is in the Garden of Eden, and God came the afternoon and he walked in the garden and he said to Adam, "How do you know you're naked? What did you do? Did you eat from the forbidden fruit?" And what did Adam say? "Oh, it's not me, it's that woman you gave me." And then he went to Eve and he said, "What did you do, Eve?" She said, "Oh, not me, it's the snake, the serpent you have created." You know, we're shifting the blame all the time, and this man did the same thing. He said to them, it's not me, I know I'm against the law here, but it's not me, it's that man." And they said, "So who is this man?" And he said, "I don't know, go ask him." If you were healed by somebody from a 38-year crippled existence in this world, and a person came up to you and he or she healed you, what would your first reaction be? You would say, "Thank you so much. Who are you? You know, how can you do this? This is a miracle." Not this guy. He picked up his mat and he walked away. Not even asking Jesus who he is. What is his message? Why is he there? Where does he come from? Who sent him? No, he just picked up his mat. "Oh my goodness, I'm healed," and off he goes. And then these leaders of the religious institution, of the decrees and of the ethical codes and rules that you have to follow, said that is unacceptable. And that's the healing that took place. Jesus healed on a Sabbath, which was not allowed, and they confronted him. "How could you do this? You're not supposed to do this." And Jesus said, "God works every day. Shouldn't I be also doing my thing every day?" God is God of every day. The Monday, the Tuesday, the Friday, the Saturday, which is the Sabbath of the Jewish people, or the Sunday, which is our rest day according to our Christian traditions. But there's something else happening here. This guy did not confront Jesus because he didn't want to. He was lying there and telling Jesus, I cannot get into the pool in time. Every time the water is stirred up, I want to go, but when I look up, somebody else is in front of me because I do not have somebody to pick me up and to help me into the water. What a lot of excuses. We recognize ourselves in that. So why aren't you a good Christian? Oh, the sins of this world. You know, there's so many distractions that keeps me away from focusing on God. There's so many things out there that keeps my mind busy. I cannot focus on living according to the teachings of Jesus. We hear and see ourselves in the excuses that this man gave. Of course he was crippled. Of course it would have been difficult for him. But after 38 years, surely there would have been a friend who probably helped him to get to the pool in the first place, that could have helped him to get into this cruel system of the first guy in is the guy that is lucky, and that's the guy that's been saved. Against that, Jesus came and he said, rise, I heal you. I don't heal you because you are perfect. I don't heal you because you brought 5 rams as a sacrifice through the sheep gate for the temple in Jerusalem. I don't heal you because one day I'm going to die for your sins. I don't heal you for any reason but I love you. That's all. And because I know what love is, because God is love, because I know what love is, therefore I can extend it to you without a price connected to it, without a price tag. In religion we have price tags. You're a good Christian because you wear a tag that says you follow the rules. In the Jewish time, you were a good Jew because you stick to the rules. On Sundays, you just walked a certain amount of steps. 50 steps? Oh my goodness, I gave 55 steps last Sunday. Will God now demolish me? If you look from that side to this religious system of the day of Jesus Christ, it is actually funny, and it's actually stupid, and it's actually a bunch of nonsense. Because this nonsense keeps the brain busy, and it keeps us away from who we truly are, and that is which Jesus rebels against and says, get rid of that and see what is really happening. And this he does in this Gospel of John. Rise, take your mat and walk. No price tags, no rules, no ifs, no buts. Just rise, take your mat and walk. Because there is love. And that's the approach of the Gospel of John. It started in the first chapter in verse 14, which we spoke about earlier. The Logos became flesh, and it made a dwelling within you. Remember that? Within you. En eme in the Greek. The Logos, the truth, the life, the light, the love came to this earth, and it made a home, a place to live within you. So what is within you? The Logos, the light, the Spirit, the love. But when we are kept busy in our minds with all these other decrees and religious institutions and the world, that what the world offers us, and these days the world offers you quite a lot, the mind is being kept so busy that we forget who we truly are. And that's the gift, that's the healing that Jesus brought to this crippled man. Not so much a physical healing, but if he just asked the question of who are you, why are you healing me, Jesus would have told him, I heal you so that you can open your mind and understand who you truly are. You are the light. You are the love. You are the Spirit of God. And the moment you realize that, healing takes place on every level of life. And everything changes. Then you don't fear the religious leaders that said, you're not supposed to do that. Do you know that? You do not fear the religious leaders that would come out and say, we're going to kill you for this, because you overstepped our boundaries and our rules. Because this is the world of God. And God is in you, so it's your world. And that's why this first phrase that the healing starts with is a phrase for us, and it's up there. And it says, rise, take up your mat and walk. It's your action. You need to rise, not waiting for somebody to pick you up to put you in the pond of healing. You need to take up your mat and face your difficulties, your problems, everything that you have to deal with. You need to pick it up and carry it, not somebody else, you. And you need to walk the new way. That is how the Christians were known in the first days, people of the way. You need to walk, not somebody else on your behalf, not the church on your behalf, not the choir or anybody else, you. It's a very personal call from Jesus Christ at the healing pond of Bethesda that says, rise, people. You've got everything you need. It is within you. Take up your mat. Face the difficulties. It's your difficulties, and it's there for a reason. And walk. Walk the road of freedom. The road of mind-blowing openness, a new consciousness, a new understanding. That's why he brought it in parables and miracles, for many people did not understand. Like this man that was healed, he did not understand. But we are in a time and an age where we can understand. So today Jesus says to you, my beloved, my divine soul on this life journey, rise, take up your mat, and walk. Amen.